BBG BabyJoe was on live with his partner, showing how upset he was about the Pelicans' loss to the defending Western Conference champs in the Phoenix Suns. Y'all check this out.
Cause he really beat up. He got to start taking them shots. Then when he start making them, they got to really collapse the defense. You feel me? Then you kick it out. But he got to be aggressive like early. Like watch him, just watch it. I didn't do that. Just like the Pelicans, they couldn't stop the pick and roll. Once that Chris Paul switched on it, they let the Chris Paul dribble that and all that. Get right there in the mid-range shot and just let kill us for 18 points in one quarter. How you can't stop that? Like I knew they about to do this. You know they about to do the same play.
D, what that was that was the fourth quarter he started making all them.
Man, every full quarter that went fire. Once Monty Williams told that boy, look, run that pick and roll, they can't stop it. They couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop that, bro.
That's Lord mercy.
They couldn't stop that, bro. Once you gotta have that. So that come with coaching. Like, you know what I'm saying? Coaching. And I ain't gonna lie, sometimes personnel, because Valanciunas couldn't check no Chris Paul one-on-one. Slow. You know what I'm saying? Then you try to put Larry Nance in that. They can't check five like that. Five to elusive. You feel me?
Hey, I ain't like who that was. I don't know his name. I call him Avocado.
Oh, Alvarado. Yeah. The little Mexican dude, he tough. With him. Alvarado, yeah.
That scripting is one of the.
So he like the new Joe. He like the new Patrick Beverly. You heard me? Like a pest. You heard me? Like he gonna aggravate you through the whole game. That's why he roll. You feel me?
Hey, though, man.
What you say, Blue?
Timberwolves, they me out, bro. I like that Edwards, bro.
Oh yeah, you know Edwards Beasley. You know we Beasley. That boy gave us a ticket to the game down here that one time.
Oh yeah, no man, I like Lance.
The little dude, I'm telling you what little dude did though. Little dude trying to play hero ball. Who trying to play hero ball? Edwards. Edwards trying to play hero ball. The dude number one for the Timberwolves.
The Pelicans lost to the Phoenix Suns 115-109. And as you guys can see, they started out the first quarter 28-28, matching them blow for blow. But the second quarter, they started to take off. That first half, they played pretty well, showed that they were gritty enough to actually beat this team, but came out in the third quarter without that same fury that they had going into the second quarter. That turned into an onslaught in the fourth quarter, to which the Suns eventually edged it out. And it was due in part to that man, Chris Paul, having the greatest closeout game playoff performance we ever seen, going 14 of 14, 1 for 1 from 3, picking his spots, killing the mid-range, as you heard BabyJoe say. But overall, man, just picking the spots. And that is coaching, but at the end of the day, that is a high IQ player, knowing what is his best spot to shoot on the floor and taking those shots until the defense takes it away. Just taking what the defense gives him, punching him right in the chin, and that's just another level of player. Chris Paul is usually the best player on the floor most nights. He truly has that game that goes unchecked. You cannot guard Chris Paul. There's no stopping him. The only person that can stop Chris Paul is Chris Paul, and that rarely happens. We rarely see Chris Paul actually check himself out of a game. Now, Chris Paul did this without the assistance of Devin Booker. He did this without the assistance of Jay Crowder. Granted, I know both of them played, but they didn't play up to their potential. That man, Devin Booker, is supposed to be the number one option on scoring and put down, 13 points. That man, Jay Crowder, is supposed to be the top option on defense, and his defense looked a little subpar. It didn't look like him at his best form. Now, that man, DeAndre Ayton stepped up in a big way. To be so young and to put on a performance like that in a closeout game, 22 points, he was dominated down low, was hitting his little midi too. Phoenix is a mid-range jump shooting team, and they are making it all the way to the finals. I think this time they have that mentality of where they know how to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Because at the end of the day, I think that the Milwaukee Bucks and the Suns will be in the finals once again, even though we're experiencing the playoffs where it just seems like we don't know who could actually be there. Boston is looking great. Boston is beating up on Milwaukee over there. You know, you got Golden State looking great, but I just feel like Golden State is past their point. They gave us something legendary, but now at this point, they're past their prime. They seem like old man warriors. I know they integrated a lot of young talent over there, but it just doesn't seem like enough to get them over that hump. When you got Mikal Bridges playing so well for Phoenix, you got Devin Booker becoming that superstar. You already got a superstar with Chris Paul. You got an actual big man who can do a lot in DeAndre Ayton. Cameron Payne, man, I'm proud of that dude, man. Coming from a Thunder fan, y'all know I'm an OKC Thunder fan, man. So we had drafted Cameron Payne, and Cameron Payne was not as good as advertised coming out of college. I guess going out there to Charlotte and just traveling across the NBA for a while kind of got Cameron Payne back into his groove where he looked like the prospect that he can be, and he's a good backup point guard. Overall, Phoenix is literally the best built team. They are built to play with each other. Chris Paul needs that big man and backup elite scoring option like DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. He needs those. Then you also got Chris Paul who can play gritty defense. I never thought Chris Paul was a great defensive player, even though I know he has been rated as a great defensive player. I never thought he was one. I think he's a person that can get you steals. I think he's a person that can handle his own. In a defensive-minded culture, he can definitely thrive. But you got those pieces that are highly defensive. Mikal Bridges, man, excellent defender. Probably one of the best wing defenders in the NBA, if not the best wing defender in the NBA outside of like Matisse Thybulle or Lou Dort. I think those two players are better like one-on-one, on-ball defenders than Mikal Bridges. But that wingspan that he has, that freakish wingspan, his athleticism, that man is just, he's a problem on the defensive end as well as the offensive end. So they have a well-constructed team. Is built perfectly for Chris Paul to come in and do what he do. You've seen how they transform things, as well as for them to get to the actual finals. You know, they're big, they're long, they're athletic, they have high IQ, they're well coached. Chris Paul's a coach on the floor as well. He's a perfectionist. You've seen him take OKC to the actual 7-game series with Houston when they had James Harden and Westbrook. And yeah, Westbrook did not play in that series, but you know, at the end of the day, they still had Aaron Gordon and good pieces around them. They took them to 7 games, and it ultimately came down to one shot. And man, that was a good series, man. Chris Paul is a wizard with that ball, man, and he's an actual coach on the floor. He makes his teammates better. But on the flip side, man, the Pelicans, they figured out that they have something to build on. And in about the next 2 or 3 years, or maybe next year, they could be a problem in the Western Conference. Brandon Ingram is growing into that Kevin Durant-like-esque potential that we all seen in him coming out of college. Brandon Ingram was my favorite college player that year, man. I thought Brandon Ingram was the best player in that draft, man. But hey, man, he's showing that potential. He's showing that he's a superstar, and he's showing that the Pelicans is his team. And in my opinion, from the very start, when his trade was made for him to go from LA to the Pelicans, I figured that he would be that number 1 overall option, even though they were getting Zion. I thought that he would still be that number 1 overall option. I thought that he was the better player than Zion. I think Zion is an undersized big man who really does not. I don't think that he has full superstar. I think he has the potential. Don't get it twisted, but I just don't think he'll reach that potential that everybody has for him. That LeBron-esque potential. I don't think he has that. I think that he's more of a Julius Randle. I think that, you know, he's a great value Julius Randle. I think Julius Randle will always be a better player because Julius Randle has that dog in him. I just feel like Zion does not want it enough, so he does not have that dog. But hey, man, hopefully he'll prove me wrong. But I never just felt like Zion was that player that they made him coming out of high school, coming out of college. I thought he would be a great player in the NBA, but I didn't think that he had superstar talent, in my opinion. I just didn't see it. I thought RJ Barrett was the better prospect, and at this point, RJ Barrett is looking like the better prospect. Let's just be honest. RJ Barrett is providing the New York Knicks a lot more value because he's actually playing. He's actually playing, and that's highly important. Being on the bench they have no use for you, and I think the Pelicans are starting to figure it out, and that's what the CJ McCollum trade was. The CJ McCollum trade puts them in a position where they can battle with the reigning Western Conference champs. If it was any other team that they were going up against, they most likely would have edged it out. But you're playing against Chris Paul and the Western Conference champs. So, hey, man, that was a good series. Can't take nothing away from the Pelicans. At the end of the day, man, you just got to retool, come back next year. If I was the Pelicans, I would trade Zion Williamson right now before he comes back for next season. And if he does not come back, at least 50% of himself. But honestly, man, he's still young, so he has to show us something. He has to show us that he's been working on that shot. So if his shooting is not better, if he doesn't come back with something, then I feel like his trade value drops. So you should trade him before the season even starts. That way no one knows. And you can get the max amount of value for him. I feel like a Bradley Beal for Zion Williamson trade is a fair trade straight across. Y'all let me know what y'all think, though, man. And with that being said, I'm out.